Good evening. Welcome to Good Guys Sports. I'm Jackson Gerke, alongside with our co-host Blake Gerke and Mike Roby. Blake Weinberger will be joining us shortly if he's able to. Hopefully, hopefully he hopefully he will join us if he is able to get his connection and able to join the show with us a little later. But right now, we are going to start us off with the round two of Duke Carolina. North Carolina won their last meeting against Duke. These last two teams met in the Dean Dome in Chapel Hill. Now,
Wasn't particularly close either, was it?
no, it wasn't. It was like double digits last I checked, and so now they turn their attention to Cameron Indoor Stadium, which will be a one of those hot style environments in all of one of the top premier venues in all of college football, and it should be a great game. It's going to be. I think that Duke's going to be. I think Duke's favored by at least a uh for
Yeah,
like
I think
7.5 points now. So that's the
with that
spread that I'm looking at.
home court advantage, they definitely got the edge.
Yeah.
I think,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
according
they
to the
E-
do,
experts.
and
ESPN had them at 70 point
Yeah,
6% likelihood of winning.
they've got it 70-30, which is a bit of a surprise when I saw that, to be honest. I know
Mhm.
obviously given the recent form, there's not really too much to separate them, so I feel like adding an extra, if we call it 50-50 to begin with, adding an extra 20% because of the Cameron advantage,
Mhm.
maybe that's fair. I would have gone more 60-40 though, right, Mike?
Well, they had a big win on the road in Raleigh. That probably helped
Yeah, it was a
helped the
it was a
percentage.
it was a good performance. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
So I also heard that the cheapest ticket is a little over $1,000.
Yeah, I just saw that on the if you pull up the game box, yeah, they've got you can get in the door for 4 digits. That's
Yeah.
it's gonna put you back some, but it's probably in terms of a game that happens every year in college basketball, maybe even
hmm
basketball in the US in general. It might be the toughest ticket. I mean, maybe like an NBA finals ticket, but I feel
Yeah.
like the NBA stadiums are big capacity, and I almost feel like this is probably the toughest basketball ticket to get in America, unless I'm forgetting anything. Am I?
I don't think so. I mean, this has got to be the last regular season game in the ACC before the tourney, and it's for for the number one, for the championship.
Yeah. And you think about also as well it's just a very unique. I mean, we've talked about Cameron a lot on this
Yeah,
show the past couple months, but it's just the size and capacity of it. I
less
mean,
than 10,000 seats.
yeah, I mean, you hear about it all the time. I'm sure people that aren't, into Duke probably are tired of hearing about it, but it really is a unique venue, in not just basketball, but all of sports. So even like a Final Four or a national championship
Yeah,
game are obviously tough tickets, and but those are always they're playing in like these huge football stadiums that they convert to basketball stadiums, and the big NBA games are playing in big arenas and with big capacity and all this stuff. But it's really something that you don't see very often. So yeah, I definitely would recommend anybody to to watch this game, no matter your allegiance, just for the interesting aspects of the rivalry in the stadiums.
hmm So you're sending my ticket FedEx tomorrow, right?
Should have already got there. So that's a little concerning. Maybe check your mail again after the show, but yeah, hopefully it should be there.
All right.
Are you allowed to wear
um,
T-shirts that say
Blake, great to
"Don't
have you
trip
on Good Guy
Blip"?
Sports.
Oh, thanks, Jack.
I do want to start us off with your opinion and your take and on on the uh, on the um on the round two rematch of Duke Carolina and the Cameron Crazies indoor stadium and what will go down as and will be one of the hostile environments in all of college basketball. And Wake, I got to ask you, will Duke get revenge from their rivals from Tobacco Road, UNC, and will they get it done?
Well, Jack, quick question. What month are we in right now? What's today's date?
March 7th.
Oh, so okay. Back in the day when Mike was growing up, they had this thing called March Madness. And you know what that meant, Jackson? It's NCAA basketball tournament time, and it's madness because anything can happen, Jackson. Here's the thing.
That's true.
Duke, they say you don't awaken the bull, right? And when they flip, they awaken the bull. They awaken the beast. Thanks to Wake Forest, Duke is just going to be on a tear right now. The beast has been awakened, and Duke goes in there. And here's the thing. They've already gotten beat by Carolina, so it's a little salty. It's a big rivalry. Duke wins the game, but I completely agree with Blake. I think that percentage is a little aggressive. It's 50-50 with Duke having an edge, but not that much of an edge. Duke wins.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the motivation, obviously, obviously both teams are motivated just given the history of the rivalry, and particularly both teams are trying to, increase their seed come tournament time here soon. But yeah, I think particularly with that tough loss against Wake and some of the extracurriculars, we'll say, that happened after that game, plus the way that they got beaten pretty handily in Chapel Hill earlier in this season as well. I don't see any scenario where Duke don't come flying out and they're pressing UNC. They got high intensity. The crowd's going to be pushing them on. It's going to be a hostile atmosphere. UNC's not going to be able to hear anything in there. So I think if Duke is able to use that to their advantage, which I think they will be, historically they have, and obviously I think Coach Shire knows that the stadium, and he knows this matchup well, and he knows how difficult it is for UNC to come to Cameron and get a result. So yeah, I think I agree. I think 70-30 is strong. I think they're kind of playing off of the history there, and just going off of Duke losing to UNC at Cameron, given the circumstances. Maybe seems unlikely from like an analytics or a betting perspective, but yeah, no, I think it's much closer than that. I think if these teams were to play in the neutral venue, which they could and they did have in the past in the NCAA tournament, I think it'd be a coin flip, 50-50. So I think maybe giving an extra 10% for home court advantage, maybe 15 because it's a unique venue, like we've been saying with Cameron. So maybe 65-35 I would go. But yeah, I'd call it a 60-40 game. So I'm gonna go with Duke, definitely by single digits. Obviously it could be closer towards the end with fouls and stuff like that. But no, I do back Duke in a close one. I think I think we talking about Filipowski, and he's been coming on strong these past couple games. I think that matchup with Bacot versus Filipowski in the paint, that's going to be the real key, because those are the two star men, right? And Bacot has a lot of more experience than Filipowski. He's obviously a physical player. But I was watching the game on Monday that Mike mentioned against NC State here in Raleigh, and Filipowski was doing really well. He was dealing with some of the physical play. A lot of these teams in the ACC would just try to hack Filipowski. They'll hack the center Young, just try and muck the game up, make it a bit physical. But I back Filipowski to kind of ride that out, and I think him and Proctor kind of have that nice little inside game going. So they're gonna go to that early and often. So keep an eye on that one come Saturday.
Duke 87.
Yeah.
UNC 81.
Okay,
Yeah.
so tight game, physical game, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. But a few more points I would like to make before I move on to your next topic is that you're also forgetting about RJ Davis. He's a great player too, and he leads the team with 2.5 percentage, and he's one of the leaders of the team. And to your point on Elliot, and to your point, yeah, Duke still got to find a way to slow down this UNC offense. But if they're able to do that, the entire game, then I think Duke will find a way to win this game. And one other thing I'll say before you guys jump in is that about this rivalry, I want to throw in a baseball theory to Uncle Mike about on this. That's right there with Yankees, Red Sox, and Major League Baseball. So that's what makes those sports rivalries has a lot of history and unique and very special compared to other sports rivalries out there in in the country. So I think that Duke and Carolina always delivers no matter where it takes place and where it happens, whether it's in the Conference tournament or at Duke or in Chapel Hill, no matter where it takes place. I feel like those games always deliver no matter where it takes place at the right place, the right time. I feel like those games always comes down to the wire and deliver, especially into their last few games. Now, UNC had coming off their last game against Notre Dame, they blew them out of the arena entering in this Saturday's matchup. So I do think that, to your point, Blake, about Duke's last game beating NC State and then Notre Dame coming off a win in the last game against Notre Dame at home. Now just travels just up the road, up on Tobacco Road to Durham. That's going to be should be a fascinating game to watch, as it always is, for it to deliver, and probably in all of history and all of college basketball. But yeah, I do think that
You got a question, Jack?
Yeah, I do think this is by far one of the best college rivalries. I think in all of college basketball.
Jackson, we're obviously a top flight production show. We got boots on the ground at these locations to get some inside information. I think we put Blake on this detail. Do you think there will be a seat reserved with one letter on the seat and it says reserved for K? What do you think?
I think everybody already knows. I think he knows where he's going to be long before the game, so I think he's got it all mapped out. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be some sort of
Is he going to be there, Blake?
No, he'll definitely be there. I think I wouldn't shock me if Roy Williams is there as well as an away fan.
You be sitting side by side?
Not side by side. Maybe, I don't know. It might be a bit too. Maybe it's too small. They don't. But definitely expect a lot of famous alumni. Honestly, I think a lot of these famous Duke players probably have trouble getting into these games given how high profile they are. So, yeah, no, expect a lot of crowd shots to famous ex-coaches in the case of Coach K, notable ex-players. I'm sure Grant Hill will be there. I expect a lot of the huge. Maybe Leitner will be there. Who knows? I'm trying to think of a lot of other players are in the NBA or in media, so they can't maybe make it to the game, but I expect a lot of familiar faces in the crowd.
Current rankings, are they both top 10 right now?
Yeah, they're pretty close. So I was gonna mention this as well. So Duke is currently ranked 9 and UNC is 7, and they have identical records overall. Duke is one game back in the conference, so I mean, you can't really separate them, can you?
And the overall record is crazy close, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It's the same, yeah, 24-6, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. The overall record between the rivalry game.
The all-time historic.
Yeah,
that's a good stat actually. I can pull that up.
I believe it's insanely close.
I think it's definitely, there's been ebbs and flows for sure. Let's see. Well, it's actually a bit more in the favor of Duke than you would expect. 143 to 117 all time, actually. So
okay.
Duke's got a decent advantage, but it's certainly not lopsided, and certainly in more modern modern times. I think probably maybe Duke had a pretty fair stronghold kind of like in the 90s and early 2000s, and then UNC kind of had their thing going in recent years. But interesting. I think you're kind of alluding to more recent history since 1977. They are both actually even split 1-4 between the last. So the last 114 meetings dating back to 1977, they've each won 57. So to your point, Blake, it has been a very even rivalry overall in modern history. So yeah, I think going back to Jack's original point, I think in terms of just rivalries and US major sports, it's got to be up there, top 5 for sure. I'd throw in, like you said, Yankees, Red Sox, Duke, UNC, Celtics, Lakers, maybe you throw in there in the NBA. Trying to think of other ones. Is there a big one that I'm
Detroit Bulls back in the Malice at the Palace days?
Bulls, Pistons? Yeah, I think if you're gonna go NBA rivalries, like historically, you'd go Celtics, Lakers. Even though they don't, I guess they haven't played as much recently in the final. I just feel like because of like historical value. I don't know, Mike. You're the historian here. Am I missing anything?
Oh,
Big?
Wizards Hornets.
Okay, yeah, I forgot that one. That's the battle for the #1 pick.
The battle for the basement.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I think a lot of maybe hockey historians would throw in Boston Bruins versus Montreal as like a historic rivalry. But I mean, with like anything, it's the thing about Duke UNC that's unique is that it's kind of so the test of time, whereas a lot of rivalries they never even really end up meeting each other, or like divisions change and pro sports conferences change, so you don't end up meeting a team as much as you will, and kind of the rivalries kind of naturally build over time after meeting a team head to head. So like in the NFL, you would argue like Cowboys, Commanders, or Eagles, Cowboys, because you play them twice a year, similarly to how Duke and UNC play each other twice a year, and you have the history there as well. So that's kind of a comparable touch point, maybe.
Yeah. Well, another thing is the close proximity of the schools.
Absolutely, it's crazy how close. Yeah, that's a great point. I can't think of maybe. I mean, I think you have to go to like like European soccer where there's like teams and playing in the same city that are rivals, but like it's not very often that you have this intense of a rivalry within the same city, same proximity. So it is very unique in that sense as well.
It's almost like a Subway series.
So yeah,
definitely.
Is the game Saturday or tomorrow?
Saturday,
So
6:30 Eastern.
Blake, are you going to go to the game tomorrow night, the second biggest game tomorrow night?
I feel like you're leading up to something, so why don't you just say it?
Oh, well, the game where you got the best chance to get autographs and meet all the Duke players and Carolina players, the managers game, which happens the night before, and the Duke players and Carolina players come and cheer on their managers. And it's been one of the more intense manager games. Fights have broken out in the past between the managers, between some of the Duke and Carolina. Actual players have gotten in a fight over the managers game. Wouldn't be a bad game for us to for you to maybe go down and see if you can get in.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that previously. I'd never really known much about that, to be honest. But that doesn't surprise me given kind of the history of the rivalry. So yeah, I'm sure that will be a heated matchup as well. Yeah.
All right, Blake. One more point I would like to make before we move on to our topic is that both of these teams that we talked about will actually share the ACC regular season title, which is kind of weird to me, but they're
so that would be only
if anyway.
If Duke wins,
right? Really, just
you mean yeah. So
yeah,
I think if Duke wins,
then they
would
really
finish
find
with...
it very odd to me. But they're but they're doing it. That's just what I want to
Yeah.
that's just what I want to throw out there.
Well, they both would have the same number of losses, but Duke would have one more victory in the conference than UNC. But
wouldn't they be? No, they'd both be 16-4 if Duke wins on Saturday in the conference. Is that right? And then they'd be tied, right? I think that because they have to play the same number of conference games, right?
yeah,
So I think they would be tied overall, but then obviously if Duke wins, they would have both beaten each other once, so they would share the regular season title, I believe, which makes it more important for Duke to get the victory for sure if they want to.
yeah. Well, Duke will just have to beat them again here in Washington in the tournament.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
that's right. That's right.
Capital
As
One.
you mentioned, Mike,
Capital
the
One.
ACC tournament this year will be taking place at Capital One Arena, up in the nation's capital, up the road where you are. Yes, yes. I'm glad you brought that up, Mike, because that's where the tournament will be taking place this year.
Jackson, were we going to send, like we sent Blake for this to report on this, will we send Mike as our boots on the ground for that tournament?
Hey, I'm up for it.
I mean,
Man, we get some press passes. It would be awesome. Post game interviews.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, there has been many good basketball played there so far this year. So, I mean, I think it'd be a nice bonus to see some good basketball in the ACC tournament.
Georgetown's might have played a few games there.
Yeah, but I'm talking about high quality basketball, and
Well, yeah.
I'm not sure the Washington Wizards have been fulfilling that quota. So it'll be.
Hey, they're on a streak right now at 16.
Is that 16 wins or 16 losses?
16 losses in a row.
I thought you were going to say, yeah, 16 trips to the Gatorade cooler or something. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that, but
we're number O.
I
enough.
think Charlotte and DC need to become sister cities. We need, misery loves company, and I think it's time to just make it official that we're sister cities in athletics.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you guys this question real quick, just to speak on this rivalry a little bit more. Blake, you and Jackson were in Atlanta growing up, so I'm curious. And then Mike, you were up there in DC. Now, growing up, if a buddy wore a T-shirt or shoes or picked something out, it wasn't uncommon to ask them, "Is that shirt Duke blue or Carolina blue?" Or are your shoes Duke blue or Carolina? Now, but I don't know how far that went outside of Carolina. Have you guys heard that in Atlanta? Did you guys hear that? Was that a thing in DC for somebody to ever say Duke blue or Carolina blue to differentiate the color based off two athletic teams in North Carolina?
Yeah, definitely. I think I can speak definitely growing up in Atlanta, Duke and the Duke UNC rivalry. It's once you move to the Triangle area, it's just it's massive. But even in the general Southeast, it's definitely something that you kind of know about. And I feel like I'm sure Mike probably knows the same. You kind of know somebody that's invested in the Duke UNC rivalry because they went there, or they have like their spouse or their children went there, or they're friends with somebody that went there. And the people that are really into it, it's like their whole life basically is Duke UNC and Duke UNC basketball. So, and then people move around to different cities, particularly in the southeastern region. So it's something that really permeates throughout, right, Mike?
Yeah. Well, up here it wasn't. I mean, Duke and the Tar Heels were rivals of UVA or Maryland because Maryland was in the ACC when I was growing up, and so people up here, they were always the opponents. And then Georgetown used to be good, so we always had those three. Yeah.
Is that right? Ewing was there, right?
Yeah, Ewing. They won. Georgetown won the national championship, I think, in '84.
Yeah.
So you had those three teams coming in, but
he was on Space Jam, right? Good enough. Georgetown put a player on Space Jam's roster, I believe. Right? Isn't he on Space Jam's roster?
I don't think Ewing was. No, I think that was.
Oh, not the Monstars, the worst Space Jam.
Was Ewing maybe? No, I don't. I think Ewing. I think Space Jam was.
Yeah, I think he was.
Was he in Space Jam?
In one of those in
Okay,
one of
maybe-
those parts in the movie he was, but not.
Okay, maybe I'm mistaken. Yeah.
But not in the entire movie. No.
It's a funny stat. That's a funny stat that you made the roster.
Yeah,
Space
yeah.
Monstars.
That was the only title he won in the NBA. Yeah, but
Yeah.
obviously a great player at Georgetown for sure, and
Who did
obviously
he play for in the NBA?
he was
Knicks.
Knicks.
He
Yeah,
played for
yeah.
the Knicks.
The Knicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's unfortunately right into the Michael Jordan buzzsaw in the 90s, but
That's a
yeah,
fair
no, it
point.
was yeah, I mean, honest that it's funny that that I'm sure locally in DC, I'm sure Georgetown basketball is still a big thing, but I feel like nowadays kind of that like peak ACC or the Big East basketball and stuff like in the 80s and 90s, it's not really the same, but it seems like
Who's
Duke
their coach?
Duke for Georgetown.
Yeah.
It was
Is he?
John Thompson.
Thompson.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then his son coached him for.
Yeah.
And then Ewing actually came back and coached them for
I thought
a little bit.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it just
thought so, okay.
wasn't really able to kind of bring back that magic, which I think that's just kind of more of a symptom of modern college basketball, where a lot of the great matchups and rivalries kind of fell by the wayside once the conferences kind of realigned. Something that we've seen in all of college sports recently, to be fair. But
Yeah.
I think that kind of makes Duke UNC a bit more special because that's one of the matchups that's kind of lasted the test of time, where you had like a Georgetown, Syracuse, or like a St. John's, Georgetown. It's not really the same impact anymore as it was back in the day. But we've got Duke and UNC still fighting the cause for college basketball, so it makes it even more special, I feel like. All right, Jack, what's our next topic?
So,
We've talked about college
of,
basketball too much, I feel like.
Yeah, well, it's fine. At least you
Nah,
got
I'm just kidding.
at least you got that story and that part taken care of.
I'm long-winded, aren't I?
Of course you are. You're Blake. You always have
That's
the
me.
insight and stuff where you have to.
You didn't have to say it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. All right.
It's been discussed before.
All right. Let's now move on and talk about the standings in the NBA. As we talked about, the Wizards are 9-53 losses this season, like Mike talked about.
What about the Hornets?
And so right now, as it stands right now, the Celtics and the Bucks are atop the standings, but the Celtics blew a big lead against the Cavaliers the other night, and now, despite they still have the 11-game win streak of the season, now despite that they're the front runners of the Eastern what would most likely should be the verge of advancing to the NBA Finals as the Eastern Conference team, but again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But right behind with them are the Milwaukee Bucks, who I feel like are the challenger to the Celtics. And then we take a look at the Western Conference. You have a two-way tie between Minnesota and Oklahoma City, and the Nuggets of defending champions of Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. So that's where things stand right now for the NBA. So as I said, as I mentioned about their last game that I want to touch on for a bit, like I said earlier on the topic, the Celtics blew a 22-point lead and are still one of the fifth best regular season teams of all time. But now they're in their they're challenging it, and what should be a exciting and fun playoffs to watch. Now that you have to go up against Giannis and Damian Lillard and the Bucks and Doc Rivers, let me tell you, those guys are a great team, and and also not to put anyone in Boston on this, but going to make people want to make people uncomfortable, happy up in New England and Boston, but the Bruins and the Celtics lost on the same night. They lost to the Canadians in
Ouch.
overtime, and they blew the lead to the Cavaliers. That's just going to make the people uncomfortable.
There's a lot
And
of
for
Samuel
anyone who's
Adams
listening up in the
consumed
New
that
England
night.
area, it's going to just really just going to just really just going to be, I don't know, painful, just tough in your teeth, or hard to watch, tough to
Well,
watch,
yeah, I mean, I think it's
heartbreaking.
it's a bit.
I mean, what's a great word? What's a great word? That I'm missing that should put on that from anything that I brought up with.
No,
Blake.
I know you like to twist the knife into Boston, and anytime you blow a 22-point lead, you can be rightfully criticized. But I think in the case of the Celtics, in my opinion, they're so far and away the best team in the regular season in the NBA so far that I don't think it's really going to affect them too much. Blowing a lead like that, it's obviously they want to keep up that momentum, and I think they will. In terms of they're going to secure the 1 seed, they've got an 8-game lead over Milwaukee, so that's not really a big concern. They're honestly looking towards the playoffs at this point, and I mean, you mentioned Milwaukee with Giannis and Dame, and obviously those are two huge superstar players that got a lot of potential to pop off come playoff time. But I just think if you look at the depth of Boston, they've just got so many players that can make an impact, not only in that starting 5, but coming off the bench. Derek White, Drew Holiday, Porzingis, all these fringe players, not to mention Tatum and Brown, that come in and make a huge difference for that team. I wouldn't bet against them in the East. Maybe in the West you can make an argument they have to get through Denver and the Joker, but in the East, I think they've got a few challengers. But if everyone stays healthy, I mean, despite the bad loss on Tuesday, I wouldn't bet against Boston.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's above 32 degrees up there. So for them, if it's 33 and higher, they're outside throwing frisbee like it's springtime. So they might not have even known. But if they did, like Blake said, Samuel Adams, they're gonna have to refill the metal containers because it might be out.
Yeah, no, they're primed for a big playoff run here, and I guess Washington's primed for a big run at the number 1 pick. Although 16 straight losses, it's a bit unlucky, Mike, that the Washington Wizards are the worst team in the league the year that the number 1 pick isn't really anybody going to be too special.
Well, the Wizards are going to pick Caitlin Clark with their first draft choice.
They could do a lot worse. They could do a lot worse. They could do a lot worse, man. Yeah, it's
speaking of basketball, how about your women's Gamecocks? We're not going to talk about an undefeated, maybe the only NCAA undefeated basketball team right now.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, I want to talk some women's college hoops. It's you think they've got a chance to win it all. I mean, they do every year, right?
What do you think, Jack?
I think they got a shot. So far, they have the best regular season undefeated title in the conference and in the league. So far. So
given the talent they lost last year,
maybe they can go on a deep tournament run and win it all, and possibly who knows? Maybe they can cut the Nets in the Final Four and win another national title. You never know, but I could but I'm buying it.
Last year. Was it Iowa that beat them? Was it Iowa that beat them last year in the tournament?
I would be they beat Ellis. They beat
LSU.
LSU beat Iowa.
It was LSU in the national title game last season.
I think Caitlin. I really wish Caitlin Clark would come back one more year. I think. Truth be told, I do not, and it's not all about money, but that's why people used to leave college. I think Caitlin Clark is going to lose money if she goes pro in terms of endorsements and all that. I think she's such a special thing to have her, and college is such a special experience. I wish she would stick around for one more year. I don't see what the hurry is. I think she'll make more money at the college level. I think it's more special. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, yeah, I think she's been there for 4 years, but she technically does have an extra year of eligibility. I think because of the COVID rules.
Because of the COVID rule. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, it might be a bit surprising given
she probably doesn't want to study for another year.
Well, yeah, she could probably maybe work on a master's degree or something. Yeah. But I think just from a competitive perspective, she feels like this year she's wants to test herself against the very best players in the sport, which you can understand given kind of the leaps that she's made recently. So
she's going to be a big boost to the WNBA.
Definitely,
because she's going to be putting people in the seats.
Yep.
And I think and obviously she has to winning the title this year would kind of cap it all off, but there's not much more she can accomplish. She's already won the overall NCAA scoring record. She passed it Pistol Pete Maravich for the most points scored. So from that perspective, I'm not sure there's much more she can do in the college game, to be fair, apart from obviously winning a chip this year in the tournament, which she came close to doing last year. So I think the women's tournament will get even more interest than the men's tournament this year, because people want to see if Caitlin Clark can kind of cap off that historic college career with a championship. So if they end up making a run to that Final Four, that's going to be a huge matchup in that Final Four and possibly title game. But obviously you got a great Gamecock team standing in the way. So and not to mention the likes of LSU, Stanford are there and thereabouts. So yeah, the women's Final Four or tournament in general is going to be very exciting.
Yeah, agree, Blake. I think the old box and one, unfortunately, is going to get pulled out.
Yeah.
Maybe even a double team.
You know what? I think there's gonna be a lot of memos written to the refs in the NCAA women's tournament. They'd be like, hey, like maybe if you see some people trying to foul Caitlin Clark, give them that early foul so they don't do it too much. Like the NCAA is gonna do as much as they can to get Caitlin Clark in the game and scoring as many points. So there's a little conspiracy theory for you, is to watch what kind of calls they pull in the tournament against Iowa.
Yeah.
All right, what's our next topic, Jack?
All right, Blake. All right, Blake. Appreciate that. For our talk in basketball. Now let's move on to. Now let's go back to the pros and keep things Boston. And talk some pre-training baseball as the Braves win in a close one, 3-2 in the final score, and they all did it thanks to Michael Harris, who goes yard on his birthday, had to pass the Braves lead and end up winning this 3-2 game. So it's great to talk baseball game with Uncle Mike. I got to ask you, have you been able to keep up and watch any spring training games so far lately?
No. Masson, Mid-Atlantic Sports Network, which broadcasts the Nationals, have been very dearth in broadcasting games. Last Sunday,
Masson. Pick it up, Masson.
Yeah, last Sunday I sat down to watch them and it was rained out. I was like, oh.
Who would have thought it rains in Florida?
I know, but but I've been keeping up with them. They just signed Rosario to a minor league deal. I was kind of surprised because the Nationals got a lot of outfielders, but he was an ex-Brave that we got. But
Yeah,
Mike-
he's a Braves legend for that 2022 World
Yeah.
Series run, 2022 NLCS MVP, Eddie
Yeah.
Rosario.
and he was a pickup at the trade deadline that year. Ended up being the MVP of the championship series.
There you go.
Wow.
Could be-
But
Mike, speaking of DC signees, did I see you guys picked up Zach Ertz for a
Yeah.
year contract?
yeah, sure did.
So foot on the gas. So you don't do that unless you think you can compete for
Well,
the playoff run. I wouldn't think.
yeah, but they signed him for 1 year. He's 34, so he's not like he's not as good as he was with the Eagles, but he's a good pickup. I mean, it's it's a safe pick. The big story is who are the Commanders going to pick as the quarterback? No, so we'll see. I think they'll
Who's
probably,
in between right now?
huh?
I mean, it's
Who's
looking
in between?
Well,
it's looking,
what are the
looking like
options?
Drake May, isn't it?
It's good to look like either Drake May or Jaden Daniels are the two, assuming that Caleb Williams goes to the Bears. But it'll be interesting. I don't think the Wizards or the Commanders should do any trades. They should just stay packed with the number 2 pick. Personally, I think Drake May would be the better, because he's a bit beefier than the others. They list Jaden Daniels at 210, but that's probably when he's soaking wet. I think
Right.
he's probably closer to 200 if he's at 200. But I think Drake May, just because of his size, he's the one I would pick.
Yeah, I mean the quarterback speculation, just to jump to some NFL stuff now, there's been certainly in the news recently. We saw
Mhm.
Russell Wilson getting released by the Broncos this week in a
Mhm.
pretty crazy move where the Broncos have to take a huge cap hit, obviously, and that situation turned out pretty poorly considering the assets they gave up for him. But just in the quarterback market in general right now, there's
Mhm.
going to be, depending on who goes where in the draft and who even some of the later round quarterbacks for a team like Denver that needs a quarterback now, maybe taking one of the more veteran guys in the later rounds.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I think a lot of the, like you mentioned, a lot of the, it's kind of funny to me that a lot of the analysis or evaluation of these quarterback ends up being like the size and weight related, where people are picking Drake May because he weighs like an extra 30 pounds versus, but I mean, to be fair, we saw it last year with Bryce Young, and people docked him for his size, and maybe that was more of a height thing, but he wasn't exactly he didn't exactly weigh a lot as well in
Yeah.
terms of being shorter. And I'm not sure that's the only reason he didn't have a great first year in Carolina, but that's something that evaluators are taking pretty seriously this year, especially in the modern NFL. You want somebody who's not gonna who you're not gonna question if he's gonna get up after a big hit, right? So
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking because the Commanders' offensive line stinks.
that
So
too,
whoever's going to be quarterback for us is going to be hit a lot.
you might as well just draft some beefy linemen to play quarterback that
Well,
can just get tackled every play.
But I think even you're talking about free agents. Kirk Cousins, I think, is going to be a free agent, and he's on the market.
You gonna bring him back round 2 in DC?
Captain Kirk.
You like that?
That's what I want to. Yeah, that's what I want to actually. That's actually is leading up to my next question. Like I'm hearing all this like sports talk shows on ESPN and other media outlets like out there are saying that Kirk Cousins should come back to the Commanders for the Washington franchise. He should be one of your best leaders on the team, which I feel like people are saying. But also, let's keep this in mind. Atlanta most likely would be the destination for Kirk Cousins, if not for Russell Wilson. And the reason why I say that is because Kirk Cousins, his wife actually lives in the Atlanta area, and he actually owns a home down there. So that's one thing to actually keep in mind. So of course he can resign as a Viking, but I wouldn't rule out Cousins going to the Falcons if I were you. Now about Russell Wilson,
I'd rule it
where
out
he
if I could.
actually now on Russell Wilson, where which offense I think he fits perfectly in is the Pittsburgh Steelers because he can
Yeah, I agree.
because the reason why and the reason why is that is that it's a historic franchise. They in a passionate fan base, a lot of Super Bowl winning Super Bowl titles, and an organization that has a building culture and the Roonies, and really a special organization for this team that they had developed over the years. So I think the Steelers would be the perfect, in my opinion, would be the perfect fit for for Wilson for next season. Thoughts?
That makes sense. As long as he's not with the Commanders, I'm happy.
There you go.
I think it's a really good fit actually, and that's a good point from you, Jackson, because I think Mike Tomlin does not want to work with a young quarterback who doesn't know what he's doing.
Like
And
Kenny Pickett.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I think he had a lot of frustration with Pickett this past year, and maybe there's a bit more leeway given to him, given he played locally there for the Pitt Panthers. But I wouldn't say he made an impression where he's, he has to be given the job this year. I wouldn't say he was like a disaster or anything like that. But if they can pick up Wilson, I think that's a really good fit in Pittsburgh, and they've got pieces. They've got some good players on the defensive side of the ball as well. And historically, they've been able to kind of find some good offensive talent kind of late in the draft as well. So I think Wilson to Pittsburgh and Fields to Atlanta makes a lot of sense from my perspective, just kind of from a team building scenario. I don't know if you guys agree.
I do, because with Justin Fields, he actually went to high school in the area. He played at Harrison High School in the county where I went to high school a while back, and I think he knows and grew up in the area, and familiar with it. So I think Fields to Atlanta. I agree. I think I like where you're going there, for Blake. I think that Fields to the Falcons could fit and improve and know the offense pretty well. I think if he although if he can't resign for the Bears, which is still a possibility, well, the Falcons would be the perfect destination and fit for Fields if he's able to, if he so chooses. And I think he'll probably be playing there. To your point, Blake.
What's,
Yeah, go ahead, Blake.
Baker saying put in Tampa. They lock him down.
Seems like he kind of won over the locker room there down in Tampa, didn't he?
He went a little tear then. I didn't know if he was
on
a 1-year contract or what kind of contract he was under down there.
He has until he has to decide until March 15th to get a deal done. But one of their playmakers, Chris Godwin or Mike Evans, did agree on a 2-year deal. So
yeah, I think they're running it back down there in Tampa.
Yep. At least one of your star running backs finalized to get a deal done. We'll see, but maybe Baker Mayfield could follow that suit, but but we'll see. Anything could happen between now and March 15th. We'll have to tune in, but we'll have to tune in and see what happens.
Jack, can I do a little bit of a preview for this big Premier League game this weekend before we wrap things up?
Sure.
I know I don't have to talk to Premier League too often, but there's a big game at the top of the table between Liverpool and Manchester City. Liverpool's in first place. They're they have a 1 point lead over Man City. They're playing each other at Liverpool on Sunday afternoon around noon. So I recommend checking that one out for anybody interested. But it's a big game, and I think Liverpool have had a couple injuries recently, and Man City, they've won the past three Premier League titles, so people would expect them to kind of maybe win this game and take hold of the title. But historically, Man City have had a tough time getting a result at Anfield, Liverpool Stadium. So I've got a funny feeling Liverpool are going to at least get a draw, maybe even a win in this game, just given the history they have against Man City and their manager Pep Guardiola at their home stadium. So that'll be a really entertaining game, though, and one that I would recommend checking out. Should be a lot of goals, a lot of good attacking play as well in that one. So I'll be rooting on my Liverpool Reds, but either way, it should be an exciting matchup. So
you'll have their jersey on next time.
If they win, I'll definitely have it on. No, I'll probably have it on either way, to be fair. I've got the media background and stuff as you know. I'm acting as the interim manager answering your questions here. But yeah, no, it's that should be it's a big game, and I know BO Limburger's Arsenal will be hoping for a draw because they're only a point behind City in third as well. So they'll be hoping for a draw and then a win, and then maybe they'll be in the title conversation as well. So lots of implications there.
Blake, got a question for you. Since you're at the press conference table, is it true that Mbappe is leaving PSL for Man U? Is that right?
No, yeah. So he's currently at PSG, Paris Saint Germain, yeah, French club. And it looks like he's going to join Real Madrid actually.
Madrid, even though he's a part owner of PSG.
Well, yeah, he's got a lot of power. Yeah, he's got a big contract there. He's got a lot of power. Historically, PSG haven't been the biggest club in the world. They're kind of more of one of these modern clubs that's taken over from Middle Eastern investment, and they've given a lot of power to Mbappe. And to be fair, he's probably, if not one of the best players in the world right now, French forward Mbappe. So. But I think it's kind of always been rumors that he's going to join Real Madrid Spanish team, who one of our previous guests, Roberto, is a supporter of Real Madrid in Spain. But it looks like that deal is going to be taking place this summer, where he's going to join Real Madrid. And to be fair, Real Madrid have a lot of stacked talent. They've got some pretty crazy young players: Vinicius, Jude Bellingham, the English player, as well in midfield. So if they add Mbappe, which it looks like they do, that's going to be a scary lineup going forward. So they're going to be
they want to win what, the Champions Cup? What are they trying to win?
Champions League, yeah. Real Madrid are always in there with a shout for the Champions League for sure. They're still in the competition this year. They actually won. Or they got through the round of 16 on Tuesday, I think it was. So be into the quarterfinals of the Champions League, yeah. So I think maybe this year they might be to be fair, they're kind of a striker short this year, so which is why they want to add Mbappe for next year. So I would expect that deal to happen, just because. Historically, Real Madrid always signed the big money players. They signed David Beckham, they signed Cristiano Ronaldo. So I would expect them to land Mbappe this summer and kind of add to that history of the big flashy players.
So Blake, the better you do in pro soccer, you're awarded by being forced to play more games during the week in another league. You're in the Premier League. You're really good. Then you get the Champions League 12, so you got to play more games.
So it's
more wear and tear on your team, right?
Yeah. There are a lot of games, and that's definitely a discussion point in terms of the scheduling can be pretty intense, and particularly when you have in the Premier League, when you have this year, we've got 3 teams battling for that title with Liverpool, Manchester City, and Arsenal are all in with the shout for that title. But they're also all playing in Europe. Manchester City and Arsenal are still alive in the Champions League, and Liverpool are playing in the second tier European competition, the Europa League. They played today actually, and they won against a Czech team from the Czech Republic pretty easily in Prague 5-1. But so they played today. Liverpool played today on Thursday, and they play the game against Man City that I mentioned earlier on Sunday afternoon. And Man City played on Wednesday in their round of 16 Champions League game against Copenhagen, and they won that one easily as well. So they're into the quarterfinals. So these top clubs, these Liverpools, Man Cities, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, PSGs, they all play their European games in the middle of the week, their league games in the weekend, and then even you've got some cup games as well, like domestic cup games, FA Cup and stuff like that. So there's games that come thick and fast. Yeah, definitely. That's why it's definitely beneficial to have big squads where you can make substitutions, you can make rotations, and that's when squad depth definitely comes into it. But yeah, there's plenty of games. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if we mentioned last time actually, but they announced this summer they're playing a friendly match between Liverpool and Manchester United at a stadium that a few people here are familiar with in Columbia, South Carolina, Williams-Brice Stadium. Do you know that, Blake Lamberger?
About that.
Pretty crazy, huh?
About that. That's insane.
Yeah,
It'll
Liverpool.
sell out, right?
Oh yeah, that thing's gonna be full. Yeah, that thing's gonna be full. So
Blake,
that should be.
Blake, do you wish we got tickets for that match or what?
We're gonna get media passes. Jackson, you know what they say? If it ain't swaying, they ain't playing.
Fair
About
enough.
Willie B. Oh, it Willie B. If it ain't swaying, they ain't playing. A little structural engineering issues there, but it's all right. If it ain't swaying, they ain't playing.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rowdy atmosphere, and they'll definitely sell a lot of tickets there. So that should be a fun one.
Jackson, go ahead and pack your Vuva's Whaler or whatever they call it. I can't remember what that thing is.
Yep. Bring your horns.
Yeah, that dates back to the South Africa World Cup, which is the last time I've actually heard and seen those on TV. So I think you know what you're actually talking about.
On a train as well, down here.
Exactly.
Taking the Amtrak. Heard it's super nice.
Well, at least Uncle Mike has been on one of those before. Up to Citizens Bank Ballpark for one of his visit trips. So at least those can be a fun adventure trips at times.
So Jackson, did you
Yes
realize that the top two prospects in Major League Baseball are also Jackson?
That's crazy.
Ooh.
I feel like
Jackson.
I feel like I'm a popular name right now or something.
You are Jackson Holiday and Jackson Churias. Holiday is a shortstop with the Orioles, who just hit a double off of Zach Wheeler the other day.
Wow, that's
so he's gonna
crazy. It's very
he'll make it the squad.
Good for him. I think he's one of their special players. For this lineup for this Orioles team.
He's the son of Matt Holliday, who was Phillies ace pitcher.
That's interesting. That's I guess I'm wearing I guess I'm wearing something new here on Good Guy Sports. That's very cool.
Yes. So anyway, I was just looking at the MLB site today, and
Mike,
yes.
Mike, speaking of baseball, I saw a statistic. I don't think I got to mention this last time. There was a guy. Maybe I did bring this up last time. The guy called up for one Major League Baseball game. Did I tell you guys about this last time?
Sounds familiar.
Maybe, yeah. Tell us.
Where he got called up for one Major League Baseball game, and he got the hit, and he got 3 at bats, and he was recorded for a pop fly, and out. He hit into a double play, and his third at bat, he hit into a triple, rewarded with 6 outs and 3 at bats against him, and that was it. He went back down to the minors. It's tough, isn't it?
It is tough. Yeah. He didn't even have his full cup of coffee.
No, he did.
It's good that he got the opportunity. I'm sure he's waiting a long time for that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to put in. After going through all that, that's just a sign of one player just really just gotta get back into his game. That's just who he is. In my opinion.
Opening
tell you
day
what,
is
Mike-
3 weeks away.
it's getting there.
Hey,
We're getting close.
Who's counting? If Mike, if you get a chance to go, if you want to watch some fun baseball, go find a Division I team around you that also has a JV team,
Uh-huh.
and pitchers are pitching the same gas that the varsity players are, but their control's not quite there yet. So I went to a dev game, a JV game, and 4 batters in a row had to duck out of the way about an 88 to 90-mile-an-hour fastball because guy had heat, he just couldn't control it. And I'll tell you what, that's a fun baseball to go watch.
Yeah. Ready, throw, aim.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right, before we close out, before we close our show and call it a day, before we get ourselves out of here, as we're out of time for the show. But before we wrap us up, are any of you excited for the Summer Olympics in Paris? We are less than 141 days away. Anything or any event or any sport you guys are looking forward to for the Olympics, which are less than a months away as they kick off in July? You guys have any thoughts?
Baseball in or out?
I think
It
I think
doesn't
we'll
really
be there.
matter.
In, I think.
Yeah, no, they have a lot of fun sports. I think the track and field is always a great time. The basketball will be great there as well. Lots of countries with big star players.
Flag football?
What's that?
Flag football this year? A new sport?
I don't know about flag
I
football,
think
but I'm
that
sure
was
there'll
talked
be-
about for the next one, maybe. I don't think this year.
No,
Okay.
no. But they will have water polo, basketball, and swimming, and
Yep, the usuals.
track and
Well,
field, the usuals. As
I'll tell
always,
you what,
like in the last 4 years.
baseball got
Yeah, baseball was dropped, but I think they
interesting.
put it back
What was it,
in.
the World Baseball Classic, where the guy, one of the star MLB players, got hurt in the World Baseball. Interesting
Yeah.
because you got these Major League Baseball players and they want to go. I mean, there's a lot of pride in these countries, and it's good to watch. I mean, there's no guarantee that the U.S. Brings them.
Yeah, I think Blake might have is in Paris right now for the Olympics, so his connection's bad, but
His exuberance.
yeah. No, I
Lost
think
his connection.
I'm excited for the basketball because I think a lot of the European countries have, especially with watching France with Wembanyama in the Olympics for basketball, I'm excited for that. So yeah, should be a great time as always. Paris is a beautiful city, great host city, so I'm excited for it.
Rica's gonna, you got a lot of teams of injury. You got the risk of injury. Well, it's funky. You gonna play for Serbia? The joke?
Yep. All right, Jack, you want to get?
But then
Let's
of
get out of
course,
here.
Michael Phelps won't be there, so at least he'll be like, at least in my opinion, he'll be an analyst of the sport. But after his
He's too busy
long
eating
tenure
Subway.
career as one of the greatest professional athletes of all time, but especially for swimming, which is sport Uncle Mike enjoys during his leisure time. So at least he can be at least Uncle Mike can do his Michael Phelps laps in the pool whenever he has his downtime.
Absolutely.
At least something you can just really sit back and enjoy and do the Michael Phelps swimming butterflies and stuff that he does in the pool. Really, really special athlete and human being guy.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right, Blake, Mike, BL Lomberger, great to be with you guys on the show. A reminder, we will not have a show next week as Uncle Mike and I will be off from assignment. We will resume in a week from from Thursday, not next Thursday, but the week after is when we will have our next show. Just to not get yourself confused, but we will not have a show next week. We will have a show the week after on the following Thursday. So no show next Thursday. We will have a show the week after Thursday for our Good Guys Sports Show. Blake, Mike, BL Wildberger, thanks for being with us on Good Guys Sports. We'll talk to you guys soon. Great to be with you, and we'll talk to you guys and we'll talk to you guys and see you soon. I'm Jackson Gerke, Good Guys Sports signing off. Great to be with you guys. Have a great rest of your night and weekend. We will talk to you soon.
Good
Thanks, everyone.
night. See you on the 21st.
Bye. Have a good day, Blake.